everyone, this is Ian Miller,
What's going on, guys? It's Andrew.
and welcome back to another episode of Media Talk with Miller and Smith. Tonight we actually are doing something a little different. Uh, we're actually going to talk about the Walt Disney films. Specifically sequels to very established films, whether it's animation or live action. And of course, we're going to be talking about the direct-to-video sequels when we talk about the animation films.
And yeah, just brace yourselves, people. He's probably going to talk about it more than I will because I don't remember some of this stuff. So yeah.
Okay, having said that,
Sorry.
it's all right. Having said that, uh, this is actually going to be a multi-part series. So this is
Yeah.
part one.
Right.
For tonight, we're only going to talk about one animated film and one animated sequel. We'll go into the others as the series goes on. And the subject for tonight's topic is 1992's Aladdin. You'll remember that one. Big action adventure, great musical numbers. Robert Williams' Genie. Come on, it's a classic, right?
Scott Weininger is Aladdin. I mean,
Yeah,
Scott Weininger from as many of you know, Full House. So a lot of you should know that.
exactly. Yeah. Did you know there was a sequel though? Oh yeah, but this is actually the direct-to-video sequel called The Return of Jafar. That's right. It was actually released in 1994, which was in the purpose of obviously building a franchise that was not going to be in theaters, specifically the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have most of the cast back in this direct-to-video sequel, with the exception of Robert Williams, because for financial reasons he was not, hired brought back. So they hired Dan. I hope the guy I pronounce this right. Dan Castellan. I'm very sorry. You might remember him from voicing Homer Simpson on The Simpsons, and he plays Genie in here, as well as he did in the animated series of Aladdin. So the sequel was actually the purpose of the sequel was to actually jumpstart the Aladdin television series.
I believe it's called. I believe it's pronounced Castaneda. I believe.
Castaneda, thank you.
Castaneda.
Dan Castaneda. So sorry.
No, it's all good. No worries.
Yeah. So the story is actually set a year after Jafar's defeat.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so they have Aladdin and Abu have settled with Jasmine in their palace, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Just living the life, I guess.
Exactly. Unfortunately, things start to change when Iago actually escapes from Jafar's lamp.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, chaos ensued. It entails. Because now, someone finds Jafar's lamp. Abbas Mal, which actually is voiced by Jason Alexander, George Costanza from Seinfeld, who actually is in Hunchback of Notre Dame, which takes place 2 years later.
There you go.
Of course, Jafar wants revenge on Aladdin, the Sultan, and of course, Princess Jasmine.
For obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm. What's different about this one is not so much the lighter tone, because it's still a pretty dark story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It has a more family atmosphere this time around. Because I think it's fair to say with the first one, it's just the straight story based on the Arabian Nights tales.
Hmm.
And of course, with this one, you have the group, the core group, teaming up together to stop Jafar. So there's more of a family atmosphere this time. It's kind of like there's a little bit of Star Wars in there, where you have the band of the rebels together to beat this.
The Empire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you really have no, I mean it's pretty much just like you said, like, rebels, teaming up to destroy the Empire, um, and then all of a sudden, Genie comes back after a year of traveling the world after
Yes.
he was released by Aladdin. So yeah, he's back after a year.
Yeah, and it was probably one of the worst feelings because G is such a great character.
Yeah, he is. I mean, obviously, no one can beat the late Robin Williams, obviously in the voice, but you know,
Yeah,
s- um,
where she
but
comes back in The King of Thieves.
yeah, but in this one, um, his powers are kind of, how should I say it? He doesn't have really his powers after he was freed.
Exactly.
So pretty much less of a genie now. But
Yeah, but he's a sounding voice
yeah,
throughout all the chaos,
exactly.
and that's something Aladdin really needs in the story.
Hmm.
And the stakes feel a bit higher in this one than in the first one because of how menacing Jafar is.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And of
honestly, yeah.
course, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. No, I was just gonna say. I mean, to me, he's pretty much like one of the best animated villains that you know, in Disney.
Yeah,
I mean, in my opinion, but I don't know if a lot of you agree with this, but to me, he's pretty much up there in like the top five.
yeah. And Iago actually becomes more of a hero in this one
Hmm.
than the last one because he's really trying to redeem himself and try to escape Jafar's, grasp.
Yeah.
And Godfrey did some of his best work in this one in particular, voicing the character of Iago.
Hmm.
Yeah, the ending is full of twists and turns, obviously, especially with Jafar in his genie form, just trying to stop everybody, you know, knocking our genie unconscious, then somehow shattering the carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's trying to destroy Aladdin by, sinking him into a pool of lava.
That's fun.
Yeah, and then Iago, trying definitely redeeming himself, grabs Jafar's lamp and throws it into, you know, uh, the lava.
Good for Iago.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say it's definitely a bit darker than the first one.
Hmm. No, I agree.
Yeah. What's surprising about this actually had mixed to negative reviews at the time of its release. So
Yeah, I mean,
go on, go on.
no. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
You have to wonder if that was also the studio's idea of also releasing it on VHS that maybe that was part of the reasoning.
Well, I mean, it was, you know, it was one of the best selling, home videos,
Yeah,
during that time when it was released. So,
sold 50 million copies of the VHS, and apparently grossing more than 300 million on a budget of 500 million. I mean, 5 million.
5 million, yeah.
That's incredible.
Um, yeah, I mean that's still pretty good,
Yeah, I would say so.
even
And
though
of course, this did launch the television series.
right, right, okay, yeah, I remember that.
So this was actually also re-released much later, but adding Aladdin to the title, Aladdin: The Return of Jafar. Actually, you can find this on Disney Plus now, but it's
Hmm.
very rare, at this point to get sequels to already established films, especially
I
direct
mean,
to video sequels.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen this from time to time. Like, you most of the time, sequels are not as good as the first one. I mean, we see the first one, we think it's like, oh, it's really good. It's this is one of the best ones, best movies, and now everyone's hoping for a sequel. And you can hope for a sequel, but sometimes it's not as you know great as the first one.
Yeah, sad but true.
Hmm. Yeah.
You also have sequels that come out after years, sometimes almost 10 years after the first one's released.
Hmm.
Let's take Little Mermaid for example. That was released in 1989,
Right.
which was really the start of the what's called the Disney Renaissance.
Hmm.
So let's see, for example, when the sequel came out. Again, another direct-to-video sequel. I didn't know the first film made this much. The first film made $235 million in the box office.
That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
It's for a $40 million budget. I mean, back then, I mean, the budget wasn't as high as it is now.
Yeah.
So,
So, the sequel, The Little Mermaid 2: The Return to the Sea, was released actually in 2000. So you're talking about almost 20 years later.
yeah, I mean, it actually sold 6 million VHS units.
Crazy.
I know.
Once again, the film was mixed because apparently over the screenplay and rehashing plot points.
Yeah.
Well, nothing can be done about that because, as we know, they were definitely trying to bank on the popularity of the first film.
Right.
And then, of course, they released the third film, Little Mermaid: Ariel's Beginning, which was also a prequel.
Okay. Yeah, that one I didn't remember. Okay.
Yeah, that was released in 2008.
Did you see that one or?
I did not see that one. In fact, I had left that franchise a while ago.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
but we have to ask this question though: whether these sequels actually, serve a purpose if they can continue the story, and take it a new direction, or they're just rehashing the first one.
Hmm.
And a
Yeah.
lot of times we've seen with these sequels, they just rehash what's happened in the first one. It's
Right.
very rare of them that they actually change things up and take it a new direction.
Yeah. I mean, so let's go for a minute to one of you know my favorite Disney animated Disney movie, is obviously The Lion King.
Yes.
Um, so let's dive into that for a minute. That was released in it was 1994.
Yeah.
Um, which almost made $1 billion. So I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Major
can tell,
hit.
yeah, you can tell from that, what an amazing movie that was.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, it's pretty much Hamlet with lions and tigers.
exactly. I mean, still to this day, you know, it's never gonna get old.
No.
um, but then, and this one I actually did see. Um, you actually had The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride.
Yeah.
Um, which actually I thought wasn't too bad. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. Um, I believe that one was a directed sequel too, right?
Yes, it
Directed,
was.
yeah, it was. Um, yeah, so you pretty much have most of the characters coming back in that one.
Yeah.
Um, James Earl Jones, yeah, except Jeremy Irons did not come back as Scar. Jim Cummings actually uh, voiced him in that.
Yeah.
Um, so did you see that movie? What did you think of that one?
I actually enjoy it,
Hmm.
and I'll tell you why. Um, Not taking away from what the first film had done. It kind of gives you a kind of a Romeo and Juliet type of story in there.
Right.
Again, going back to Shakespeare,
Hmm.
and that was very interesting, to see. And I was pleased to see the characters again. And what was great about that was not only that was only released a couple of years after the first film had been, because that was released in '98.
Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, that was actually one of the few times that the sequel actually worked. At least in my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, the third installment, on the other hand, was pretty much 1.2, and it was retelling the first film, but from a certain point of view.
Yeah, by Timon and Pumbaa, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, and you have to wonder, was this really necessary?
Honestly, I think they should have left it at the second one.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, yeah, we don't need to go in this direction again. There was no need. No need.
No, there wasn't. And then you also had this one as well. This one had a TV series called The Lion Guard.
Yeah,
I never I I never watched it personally, but I've heard of it, but I never really watched it.
yeah, that was like maybe what I want to say 8 years later,
Yeah.
and this was obviously before the live action version was going to be announced.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about that.
Okay, so going back to 2022, it was released.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe it was 2022. Um, I'm 2019. I apologize.
Wow,
I forgot it was that. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
I didn't realize that either. Why this happened?
um, yeah, so you pretty much had really the only cast member from the original movies coming back was James Earl Jones. Um, and then you had Donald Glover as Simba. and then yeah, and then you had Seth Rogen as Pumbaa. Um, yeah, it's I won't go into that.
Uh,
Um,
for those of you who like that version, that obviously you have the preference. We preferred the original '94 version.
yeah, I mean nothing beats the original. I mean to us, but
They should have re-released that. If I'm being honest,
no, I agree. I agree.
you
But
could have made more money.
I mean, look, I mean, we were curious about the live action. I mean, the Aladdin one was actually pretty good. I mean, the live
Yes,
action one.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to a sequel to that. But I don't know when it's going to happen.
I don't not too sure either. Um, I didn't mind Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar. I mean,
Yeah,
he wasn't bad. He was actually pretty good.
yeah, I would agree.
Hmm.
Still not Jeremy Irons though, but
Still no
okay,
Jeremy Irons.
yeah. So there was that, and we should also talk about the first animated sequel to be theatrically released. And I know you haven't seen this one, but I highly recommend this. It's The Rescuers Down Under. It's the sequel to the established film The Rescuers that was released in 1977.
Hmm.
And that actually opened up new doors there because it showed the audience members that Disney could do animated adventure films,
Right.
especially with established characters. So it was to say there was a place for sequels to a lot of these properties,
Hmm.
and yeah, it could be theatrical, but then again, at that point where they're like, yeah, we don't want to take the gamble though, so we're just gonna do a direct to video line.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the animation Rescuers Down Under was just spectacular. You can already tell they were on the right track,
Yeah.
considering the company was almost financially bankrupt because of the Black Cauldron. Now, a certain friend of ours is a big fan of that movie. I'm not gonna say anything bad about it. It's very dark.
Yeah. I was actually thinking that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a very dark movie, but it's very well animated. I can't deny that. It's as if Disney was trying to make Lord of the Rings at that time.
Now here's the question: do you think they can make the Black Cauldron live action today?
Well, considering the original film has a cult following, I would say they could probably release it today. I mean, for God's sakes, you released multiple Pirates of the Caribbean films, and they were pretty dark as well.
True.
So they could do it, but it has to be a good balance of the darkness and lightness. Because if you remember during the test screen at Black Cauldron, they had to cut out certain scenes because it was just way too dark for the kids.
Right.
Which also begs the question: you have to be very careful what properties you want to adapt into animated movies.
Hmm.
Yes. Let's not forget the one film that really went to the Oscars. It's 1991's Beauty and the Beast,
Oh yes.
which
Yes.
spawned two different sequels. One is The Enchanted Christmas, and that was released, I think, in 1997. I have a problem with this one. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
At the end of the first movie, the Beast is turned back into a human,
Right.
whereas in The Enchanted Christmas, he's still the Beast. What happened? We somehow go back in time and ignored the first film? Is it set during the events of the first film? What's going on? It makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. I'm like, okay, I guess they're trying to say, oh, let's just pretend the first film didn't happen. He didn't turn into a human yet.
Not yet.
Because we just like those cute dead characters. But still, I'm pretty sure some kid in 1997 was like, Mom, wasn't the beast that turned to a human? Dad,
And
what's going on?
why is he a beast again? He was just turned into a human.
It makes no sense canon wise.
What do you think your explanation is?
That somehow they're telling this story way before, that ending of the original film. Maybe it's set during that event. That she stayed there longer than we think, but that still doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree.
I just think this was poor judgment on their, you know, on them, and they just figured it's all right. We'll just the kids have very small uh, short term memories.
I remember, yeah. No, I know what you meant.
I just want to get them myself. I need to make sure that I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Got to know what you're trying to say. I mean,
No, but it made no sense. No sense whatsoever.
when do these sequels mostly ever do? I mean,
Well, I think there's one other example where they did make sense to continue the story wise. It was the sequel to Pocahontas. Pocahontas 2, The Journey to the New World.
hmm
So pretty much continuing the story from the first film. And that was released in 1995, and the sequel was released in 1998.
right.
Once again, trying to obviously market on the established film.
Let's see. Yeah, so that one. Actually, that one doesn't even say how much was released.
I did not see anything there.
Yeah, it just says it was released on VHS, and it doesn't say how many was released, or how many million copies, or anything like that.
Hmm. Yeah, you have most of the cast back, but you actually don't have Mel Gibson, and his brother actually takes over as John Smith,
hmm
which I actually find quite interesting. Of course, this actually it continues that story, and you know the British settlers come in, and Pocahontas is actually making a journey to England to try to negotiate peace between both nations. So I think they're trying to stay very true to the history here, obviously,
Right.
but obviously make some changes. But things are not quite as they seem in the story. And of course, they don't mention her death in the end of the movie because, well, let's face it, they don't want to talk about that stuff.
No, no, I don't blame.
Yeah, so that's another example of sequels that actually continued the story from the first movie.
I mean, what I'm really surprised about is that these um through all these most of these sequels that they've made, but what I'm really surprised about is they haven't made a sequel to Hercules yet.
Yes, They just went straight to the animated series on that one. It was a prequel animated series.
Yeah, exactly.
They even had a weird crossover between Hercules and Aladdin. What universe does this make sense? Yeah, Hercules was 1997. I remember that summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a nice distraction from another superhero film that was released in '97. I won't talk about it. Don't ask me. I won't talk about it. Don't ask me. Yeah,
Batman and Robin.
because you're right.
Thank you.
Yeah, but like we said, why wasn't there a sequel to that one? I mean, for God's
No,
sakes, it was a classic. I enjoyed it. Everyone enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
Eh, Once again, they had to figure out what's going to draw the audience into our direct-to-video line.
I mean, clearly they didn't think this one made the cut to continue the story from there.
Yeah, but we also need to examine another sequel that was originally for direct-to-video, but was then had a theatrical release. It's the sequel to 1995's Pixar film Toy Story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the animators were actually having the sequel. To them, it was just going to be a direct-to-video sequel.
Right.
But as soon as the story started to develop and the animation got bigger, producers were like, no, this has to be a theatrical release. So in November of 1998, Toy Story 2 was released. It became bigger, better, and this was the third film that they had released after A Bug's Life. So it showed once and for all that sequels can be bankable in the theaters.
And don't forget, Toy Story 5 will be released in 2026.
Why do we need the fifth one? Oh my god. I had to say goodbye to the characters twice in Toy Story 3 and 4. Why do we need 5? That's why. That's why, folks. That's the only reason.
I mean, we've talked about it a lot, and I'm sure like all of you fans out there for Disney fans, Toy Story fans, I'm sure you've all thought about like, oh, Toy Story 3 was actually a great ending, and they should have just ended it like that. I totally agree. We both agree. Andy got rid of him. Andy handed him off to another kid, and that was it. He went off to college, and that was it.
You guys have to remember when Toy Story 3 came out, we ourselves were going to college at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very, it meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
Of course, there's other people who grew up with this franchise, or started up, watching it when they were, little kids around the year 2000s. They were like, no, we want more Adventures with Woody. We want more Buzz.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. When when they announced Toy Story 4, um, I was like, okay, it was a good ending, but I'm curious on how they're gonna do this. Didn't really like it that much, to be honest.
It had a few touching moments. I'm not going to lie on that because they still know how to, tug at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
But I was like, this was an unnecessary sequel.
I mean, what did it really accomplish? Really, just because they wanted to bring it back. I mean, I don't know.
At the end of it, you're breaking up the friendship there. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you got Woody saying, but behind with Bo and Buzz going off to where he needs to go off to.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh man, the boys are breaking up. Oh no.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so I had to say goodbye to the characters all over again.
Now you gotta say hello to them again in 2026.
Oh god.
That is if Tom Hanks and Tim Allen come back. I don't know.
We don't know for sure. Chances are we'll probably see it ourselves, but we don't know.
We don't know. Uh,
Uh,
yeah. Um, another popular one out there that was released in 2013. And I don't know if you know where I'm going with this. Um,
I'm just gonna wait for it.
it's a very popular soundtrack, especially now the famous one that's been famous for years, "Let It Go."
Oh yes, Frozen.
Yes, which you know has released a sequel that was I think that was in 20 hold on, I believe that was in 2016, 2019. Um, and now they're releasing another one in 2026.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I actually remember seeing Frozen. I think I saw, it was the first one that I saw with my cousins. Um, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cute movie. The second one, I thought the first one was a little bit better than the first one, to be honest.
Okay, so did the second one move the story forward?
Yeah. So, um, how can I say it? Yeah. So it did. Um, yeah. So it really didn't. This movie really didn't go back. It's not really like a prequel movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say it pretty much just made the story go forward.
What? That sounds good.
Yeah. I think it takes place. I think it was 3 years after. Yeah, I think it was like 3 years after her coronation from the first movie.
Hmm.
So it takes 3 years. Takes place 3 years after.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah. Um, what was it? Um, yeah. I mean, it made. I mean, it actually made 1.4 billion. So when you have a popular fan base like that, I mean, you can pretty much just say it's gonna make billions of dollars when that releases.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes years for sequels to actually develop and get released,
Exactly.
like The Incredibles.
Oh yes, The Incredibles.
Classic in 2004, released in that November, literally took a number of years to develop the sequel, Incredibles 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the director, Brad Bird, had done a couple of live action films, as well as his hit Ratatouille.
Yeah.
So it took him a long time to come back to doing a sequel that was worthy of the first film.
Right.
Yeah, and a budget of $200 million, it made 1.243 billion. And this is the sequel.
Wow.
What's unique about this one is it takes place 3 months after the first film. It literally picks up where the first film had ended.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we have never seen in any of the other films. Because the director knew Well, we have to continue on this cliffhanger. Yeah, that's one of the sequels that actually moved the story forward and showed the family dynamic, slightly change from, you know, the father going out to doing superhero things to the mother going out and superhero things, and the father staying behind and being, a parent to the children.
I believe we saw the second one together, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought.
And this was back in 2018.
Man, time flies.
Yeah, I would say so.
Um, yeah, I mean, from what I remember on the second, I mean, did you enjoy the second one more than the first, or the first one more than the second?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a
Yeah,
tough one.
yeah. They were both pretty good movies. I mean,
Yeah, I really can't decide between one or the other. I really can't because they were very well crafted, very well written, very
right,
well directed, and
that's fair.
of course very well acted, and they had strong viewpoints.
Hmm. Yeah,
Why you don't need superheroes, and also why you do need superheroes.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was one of the sequels that I felt really pushed the story forward. That was established in the first film.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, there is one more animated movie that was in 2016, that was released in 2016, and is getting a sequel and a live action movie.
Oh yes, I believe I know what you're talking about. So why'd you tell the fans?
It is the popular 2016 movie Moana.
Yes.
Um, that one, and as everybody knows, it got really good reviews. Got two nominations for best animated feature and best song. Um, and they will be releasing a live action one um, in 2026. Um, and I don't know when. Oh, and then Moana 2 will be released actually this year in November.
Wow, so something to look forward to, guys.
Yeah, right. For all of you who love Moana in the first one, we'll see what they come up with in the second one, if they push this one forward or it goes back, or we don't know.
Yeah.
But Dwayne Johnson is actually supposed to reprise his role in both live action and Moana 2.
So he will probably be one of the few people to actually, play the character not only in animation form but in live action.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's going to be very interesting.
We'll see which we'll see which one is better, the animated one or the live action one. We'll see.
Oh, that's a dangerous. That's a dangerous thing to find out.
Uh-huh. I agree.
But yeah, we'll definitely see what happens. All right. I think it's going to be it for us tonight. Our next episode, we're actually going to be talking about the sequels to some of the live action films, starting with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes, that one's gotta touch up on our movies here, so we gotta talk about that.
Yeah.
Um, but let's not forget now. We are going to see the movie Furiosa on Monday.
Yeah.
Um, so we don't know yet, but we may be recording something before, middle, and end. So stay tuned on that as well. We haven't decided that yet.
Yeah. So just keep an eye out. All right. Well, I'm Ian Miller.
I'm Andrew Smith.
And this has been Media Talk with Miller and Smith. Have a night, folks.
Night, guys.
If you'd like to follow us on YouTube, just hit that like button and subscribe.